I love our music, and very soon you're going to be meeting the person who is the composer who took that music and into a live orchestra and recorded it. And we are so fortunate at Simply Sarah to be able to use that. I am so excited today for you being here, our incredible audience growing around the world. We are so deeply grateful for you and how you are allowing us into your time, into your life. Today, we have a very, very special guest. I will get to introducing her in just a moment. But in America, there are some things that are changing. And one of those is that we need to be saying up front who our sponsors are. And so this is me saying up front that we do have paid sponsors. So grateful for Field Trip in Newburgh, New York. So grateful for their product also. The Hudson Natural for all the things that they do. It's something that I truly do use. Used it again this morning, just blanked on the name for a second. And then Glass Arts Collective as well in California, in the Simi Valley, for what they are doing for artists there and allowing us an opportunity to shop with them. It is a place that I shop as well. And then also our guest today. So I met Joelle Martinec when we were both taking a class with Jasmine Starr. And we were both in this space of being encouraged to find an accountability group. And I met her through other people who said, hey, come join our group. And just so excited about her. And at some point, I will actually meet her in person. And when I do meet her in person, I've already asked her if she would let me sit with her for a setting. So we have new pictures for this show. But Joelle, it is such a absolute warm delight to have you with us today.
Thank you so much. I'm so delighted to be here with you, Sarah. I can't wait to meet you in person.
I know. Someday we're going to do this. We're going to have tea together. It's going to happen. Absolutely. So I am in awe of the photographs that you take, the way that you play with light, the way that you allow light to shape the storyline. But I know also that you were a dancer and perhaps still are a dancer. I know that you travel the country and help other dance studios get ready for performances and different things. You're a mom. How did you get to where you are today, friend?
By saying yes, I think. I was, before we got on here, I was thinking about how I ended up sitting right here today. And a lot of it was saying yes. So I started dancing when I was 7. I had no idea the dance world existed. I went to my best friend's dance recital and just was in total awe of what was happening on stage. And I just said, I want to do that. And thank goodness my mom said yes, because she was like, you want to dance? Okay. And so she said yes. And it was something I did, all through my childhood, all through my high school years, all through, just growing up. And that really shaped a lot of who I am, the discipline of it, and the putting yourself out there, and the sort of dealing with rejection a lot, because you go to audition for something and there's a lot of no's, so you have to keep saying yes to keep going. So I think that really, really shaped it. I moved to Los Angeles when I was 19. I guess there is a fearlessness about me that I had no idea existed, because I was really scared and I was really insecure, I guess. And but I just kept moving towards this thing I loved. So I guess yes and love, right? So yes, those two things. And I was a dancer for a long time. I still am a dancer, not into the capacity that I was, but I auditioned. There were lots of no's there. There were about 25 no's to every yes, so the resilience that is gained there, and that underlying love of this thing that I was doing. When I moved to Los Angeles, I thought I was coming out here to dance in music videos, was sort of like the thing I knew was happening, and what was really working in the early 90s when I moved here was a lot of like hip hop and like really hardcore. I spent most of my life at the ballet bar and was not necessarily aligned with what was
Mhm.
working here. And my mentor, a man named Doug Caldwell,
Mm.
asked me to come travel with him on a convention. And yes, yes, yes.
Yes.
And that I spent about 13 years of my early Los Angeles life traveling the country,
Mm.
25 weeks a year with the convention, and then another lot of weeks of the year on my own,
Yes.
and just constantly saying yes to what was in front of me.
Mm.
I at another point found a teacher, a life teacher, who had said, "I'm taking a group of people to India."
Why not?
And right, why not?
Yes.
India was not on my radar by any means. I really wanted to go to like Greece or Ireland or something like that, but like,
Yes.
yes,
Yeah.
yes, I'll go. And 8 trips later, found a huge piece of me, um, and yeah, just continually saying yes.
Mhm.
And then in 2013, I was out riding my bike and was hit by a car and broke my ankle, ripped up my hip pretty bad. And so a new life change was afoot, and uh, didn't really see motherhood in my future, but I think that accident slowed me down enough to sort of allow a new being to come into life. And so shortly thereafter, I was pregnant with my daughter. And through that, I sort of tripped into photography.
Mhm.
I took an email course designed for parents to take better pictures of their kids. And
Wow.
yeah, it was a 52-week email course. And in week 5, a friend of mine said, "My husband's company needs headshots. Can you do that?"
And you said yes.
Yes. All while I was like shaking in my boots because the first 10 weeks were really how to learn how to use your camera. I was in week 5. I didn't really know what I was doing. But what I gleaned from that was that I love people, and I had been teaching dance for so long, and I had been directing people for so long that other than knowing how to use my camera, which I learned, after that, but that I found this other thing that I loved and said yes to. So yes and love are the ways that I got here, I think.
Wow. And I think that you still do corporate kinds of photos, but the ones that I know that ones that I see more frequently right now are perhaps you did the weddings and
Mhm,
now the babies and
mhm,
then dance and
mhm,
being able to go truly anywhere, whether you're on the beach with a couch or you are on out in a field, you're in a room that has just hard lines in it that might be a warehouse, you are able to capture the beauty of the person
mhm,
and able to share that. And it just always comes with an emotion. For me,
mhm,
there's never just a picture I go, oh, that's just a picture. There's always this depth that goes along with it. And I have such deep respect for you and
mhm,
for what you do. And I think that you're right. Yes, about saying yes, but yes, about saying yes to love and allowing it to see all the different ways that it shows up and how we love our bodies, how we love
mhm,
the work that we're doing, how we love movement, how we love the sunshine, how we love the wind gently moving, how we love having another being inside of us, all of those different things. Every single one of those pictures that you share is is a summary of what your life is.
mhm.
Yes, and love. It's just so beautiful.
Thank you so much. Yeah, I think, I really love to hear people's stories and understand who people are. And yeah, I could just snap a picture of them, but I really want to know what makes them tick. I send a questionnaire before I get on a video call, and I send a questionnaire before any one of my sessions, because I want to create beautiful images for sure, but I want that connection, and I want that feeling. And I think that's driven me through dancing. I anything I dance, anything I choreograph, it all starts from a feeling, not necessarily an aesthetic, if that makes
Yes,
sense.
it does.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So
So, did you have people in your world who were entrepreneurs, people who were cheering you on, saying, "Yes, you can do this next step"?
I didn't know a lot of entrepreneurs. I remember my mom, as I was getting ready to move to Los Angeles. My mom has been a nurse. She's still nursing these days, and she had been a nurse. My dad was an accountant, and she said to me, "I have no idea how to tell you what to do now that you're like on your way to go do it." I went to college, I got a vocation, I've been in that vocation, and she was
Yes.
like, "I have no idea how to tell you what to do."
Mm.
And I think that sort of like unwavering support, even though she didn't know exactly how to support me, both my parents, was was that guiding light. I think more than anything, more than looking at somebody else and seeing how they did it and trying to emulate that, if that makes
Mm.
sense.
Absolutely. I was talking with a nationally known coach today, and she was sharing that 60% of the population is looking for validation. And whether that happens to be validation at work or from parents or from friends or whatever, 60%.
Yeah.
And then there's this 36-ish percent, 37-ish percent that is noticing that validation can be had, but is also wanting to create something that leaves an impact. And then
Mhm.
there's about 3% of the country that is all about, it doesn't matter if I get the kudos or not. I am after impact, after the greatest impact possible, and I'm going to do what I need to in order to make that happen. And I think behind those three, that the 3% are other people who are just encouraging them on. And everything I've ever heard you talk about your parents or how you parent your daughter, all of that comes from a place of, let's encourage, let's see what happens. Let's allow doors to open. Let's allow doors to close. Let's allow amazing things to happen. And again, that space of yes, and allowing the next generation or other people to um, explore and open up what the world can be like for them, right? To the very, very best. And not saying because I'm an accountant or a nurse or a teacher or anything else that you have to do what I'm doing, but being given that freedom to be able to go forth and to open up and to try. What a phenomenal gift.
Yeah. And I think it started with my mom at 7 when I said I wanted to dance. I mean, I was out climbing trees and playing with safari figures out
Yes.
there, and she was like, "Dance? That's so interesting for you. But okay, let's see." And I think
Yes.
that really, you know, I reflect on that. I had no idea that's what was happening in that moment, but I think that's where it started.
So as you were being pulled into this, you could just follow your heart in. Did you fall in love with the music? Did you fall in love with the movement? Was it nothing to do with either of those? It was just the expression of the body. What was it that kept pulling you forward to say yes?
Yes, and all of that. I think it was all of it. There's a presence that is required when you're dancing, and like I said, I was a pretty insecure young person,
Yes.
so I think the presence that I needed, I couldn't be insecure and also be on stage. I mean, I
Right.
guess maybe you can, but it didn't. Those two things didn't go together. So I think I really fell in love with that
Mm.
embodying in, and I mean, music and movement, but I think it's really that presence
Mhm.
that was required so that nothing else could distract me.
Yes. And I love how you talk about not letting anything else distract because you were so focused. But part of that, I think, is that for whatever beautiful reason, serendipitous reason, there was the teacher was somebody that you emulated and wanted to be like and was already sharing that. And so you chose well in terms of somebody to
Mhm.
watch and follow. And
Right.
then when you got on stage, you were going back to the memories of what does this look like to follow this person and what they've said to me about how I can show up. So amazingly powerful.
Yeah, absolutely. My very first mentor was somebody who just really embodied, like give it all, give it all, give it to love, give it to, and it really it seeped into my pores,
Yes.
it absolutely did. So,
So good. So are
yeah.
you still in connection with people that you danced with?
Absolutely. I mean, the dance community is a very small little tight knit community. So, and I still, every now and then, I will pull out my dance shoes and,
Yes.
shake a little tail feather when I'm asked to. So, one of the moms that my daughter is good friends with her daughter, she's a dancer, is how we are. So, the dance community is still all around me. So,
Good. Good.
yeah, yeah.
And I love that you talked about choreographing now because I know that you have done some of that as recently as a few months ago and how powerful that is to be able to hear the music, to be able to start with the feeling, to hear
Mhm.
the music, and then to be able to create so that the audience comes along for this story because every single song is going to be a story of some type to be able to have
Absolutely.
the audience follow along and then move to that feeling as well, no matter where they've come from, if they've had dinner or not, right?
Yep, right.
Audience comes in to sit, no
Yep.
matter what kind of day that they've had, no matter how bad the parking was, to be able to come in to watch, that you pull them from wherever they've been in this beautiful, succinct, it's to me, it's almost a sacred thing that happens
Mhm.
to be able to move people from one place to another like that through music, but through the movement, through watching and costuming. So have you also, speaking of costuming, gotten into designing costumes?
I did out of necessity. So I had a dance company for many years, and we didn't have a lot of funding. So I wore many, many, many hats during that time. So I did end up sewing costume. I don't really know how to sew, but I ended up sewing. So yes, I ended
Yes.
up sewing costumes and all of that. And it is that is part of like the feeling and the visual for me too is
Yes.
I have to settle into a piece of choreography to figure out what it looks like um on the outside, right, other than the choreography. But so yes, I have popped into a little bit of designing, and that's really fun too. I mean, it's just another artistic expression. I guess I was a reluctant artist. It is only in the last couple years that I can actually say, oh yeah, I am an artist. So my therapist the other day said, you're an artist, and I was like, I am. And I was like, oh, like I owned that.
You said it.
Wow. Like
Yeah.
I said it, and I like really own that. And that came very difficultly,
Mhm.
for a very long time. So yes, the design is just another expression.
Yes.
I don't do it often, but out of necessity.
But also to be able to play with fabrics and then fasteners,
Mhm.
right? Because there are some things that you can truly hot glue together, and there are other things that need to have like tacks and other things that go through it to be able to hold all the pieces together for it to be what you want, what you envision. But the texture part of it is something that I just find to be so remarkable
It
in
is
addition to
pretty.
the color.
Yes, yes.
Yes.
The good thing about dance is that you have a 30-foot rule, so there's that. You're
Yes.
pretty much not looking very closely. So
Right.
some of those edges that aren't so perfectly aligned are okay.
It works
So there's a
also
little.
when you do costuming for like things like Halloween and that kind of thing, right? It doesn't need to be perfect. It just needs to last for whatever the
Yes.
event is.
For whatever the 6 hours of trick or treating or whatever.
So
Yeah,
very true.
yeah,
Yes.
absolutely,
So I
absolutely.
love that you're able to share so many different aspects of how you see life and how you love people and that you love the story of who people are, and allow them that space, not only to answer on a piece of paper about who they are, but also to have conversation. You're watching how they're moving, you're watching how they process information. You're taking all of that in, whether you are aware of that or not. I think that I don't use this word very often, but you are absolutely a savant at what you do. And it's just such a joy to have met you a few months ago and to be learning from you as we continue this accountability group. Our class is done, but we're continuing on in this small group of saying we see each other and we support each other in what we are doing. In this place of not having people who you grew up with necessarily, who were entrepreneurs, that there were just a few around you, what caused you to take that first step to create your own dance school?
So I think I danced for a dance company in my later 20s, early 30s, and that experience of dancing for that company was really life-changing. Just being able to sort of, Los Angeles is fast, right? If you're working on a TV show, it's fast.
Right.
And there was something about like settling in and doing dance pieces that were 20 minutes long, spending 3 months in rehearsal, like putting this show together. And the friendships and the connections and the ligaments that connected us all together. And I started getting asked to choreograph some different sorts of things. And I had this core group of dancers around me, and it just seemed that they were always around me. And so it just sort of happened. Yes, and they said yes. And it just sort of unfolded very naturally and organically. And then I decided to choreograph a full length evening work, a full
Yes.
show, which scared me to death. And I call that first show the Boogeyman Killer, because I didn't think I could do it. I had no idea what I was doing. And there was fear. And so to kill that boogeyman, I had to walk towards that fire, and walk through the fire and take 15 people with me. We premiered the first show in Costa Rica. I had no idea how to take anybody internationally.
Right.
It was like, go big or go home. I got, the opportunity to do that. And it really did. It killed the boogeyman for me and was this beautiful way to create. I could come up with any idea I wanted to and make it happen. There was no limits other than time or some finances. But driving home from teaching one night, I said, oh, what would happen if I choreographed a piece in full reverse, full retrograde? What if we reversed the music and we told the story from back to front and then told it from front to back? And we made it happen, like a spark of something out of my brain, and there was nothing to say no, other than me.
Right.
And it wasn't easy, but it was just fulfilling. So it was my first endeavor with the dance company I was in that made me want to start this dance company. And people were very generous. We rehearsed from like 9 p.m. to midnight because that's when everybody was available. So it was a lot of just, I don't have a word for it, but it was just like this,
Yes.
Yeah.
I think one of the most powerful things that you've said today, in addition to saying yes and to saying yes to love, is also this space of that you were the only person that could say no to yourself.
Mm-hmm.
That you were the only person who could put stops in to say, hey, we're not going to try that. And I love that you call this show the Boogeyman Killer, because it did. As you took over every single aspect of the show, it was you completely in charge and you deciding how you wanted to show up for all the different parts and pieces that were taking place with this, including traveling internationally for your first one. Girl, you do go big.
And the learning lessons through there. I mean, I saw, you know, what I was good at, and I saw where I needed to grow too to support not only this company but the individuals within it, you
Right.
know. So which was important to me too.
I think one of the beautiful pieces is the opportunity to watch children grow and mature. When you are
Mm,
a dance teacher and they stay with it and they stay with you, then you get this incredible opportunity to be mentoring, to be watching, to see human beings develop and grow in such incredible, unique ways. And I can think for myself when I taught one grade and then next year would do a split grade. So I
yeah.
taught third grade one year and the next year taught third and fourth and got to keep some of the third graders who became fourth graders and watch them. I got to do that several different times. And then when I was teaching private piano lessons,
Mm,
I had people who would, they'd come in the first day of their senior year for high school and say, this is going to be my last year of taking lessons with you because I'm leaving for college in a year. And to know that we had walked life together and the music had been just part of what we focused on every single lesson,
mm,
but it really was about helping these beautiful beings to see their own worth and to see their own talents and to push into them, to grow into them, and to, if they wanted to, choose to be fearless inside of them. And
yeah.
you've gotten to do that. And how remarkable is that?
It's so amazing. And like I see it as as a quilt, you know, it's like the fabric of that quilt, you know. I may not see some of those kids ever again, but I'm part of their quilt and they're part of my quilt. You know, my life wouldn't
Yes.
be the same without them.
Yes.
And I have one of my dancers, I started teaching her when she was 8, and
Mm,
she is 35, give
wow.
or take, you
Yeah.
know. And there are kids that I see once a year.
Mhm.
And, you know, after their senior year in high school, as it just happened in one of my
Mm,
trips, you know, one of the
yes.
seniors who had been doing the her solo since she was like 7 or 8, I may
Yes.
never see her again, but she changed my life. You know, without her, my life would be very different, you
Yes.
know. So I
Wow.
love that fabric.
Yes, such a great fabric, such a strong fabric. We're going to take a
Mhm.
quick break right here to say thank you to our sponsors, and then we will come back on the other side. I would love for you to share what you are currently building and working on right now. Glass Arts Collective is doing something so fun and amazing. Believing that all of us are creative, they are opening up their Instagram page for people who are creating things to be able to post those things there. I also believe that you are creative, and I'm super excited about this opportunity to be supporting Glass Arts Collective. They are amazing. So excited that you are here, that you are listening in. I hope that you are giggling and laughing along with Joelle and myself. How incredible to be talking with somebody who moved across the country to follow a dream. And then as things progressed, she got to travel internationally. And then when she was asked to start choreographing things, she began to do that and decided that she would have her own school and also be doing a full show that she called the Boogeyman Killer because every single thing that came up for her that she needed to work on or that she wasn't sure about was an opportunity for her to walk towards the fire or into it, as she said. Wow, incredible is that? I'm so excited that Joelle is here. We're going to continue our conversation. And Joelle, what are you currently working on?
Well, the plates are all spinning. So,
Yes.
um, so as I said, I tripped into photography, and teaching has been something that is been just a part of my life. I mean, I started teaching dance when I was like 14 years old. I started teaching the baby classes at our studio, and it's something that I'm very passionate about. I love to pass me on. I had a teacher that said passion is PASSION, right? Pass me I on.
Yes.
So that's very much how I feel about teaching. And so sort of the next step in my photography journey is to pass me on. And so I am creating some courses. I have a deep love and desire to capture those fleeting moments. Motherhood changed me a lot. And
Me too.
as
Yes.
I mean, like,
Yes.
full stop, but and.
Yes.
And as I've watched my not so many grow now, she's 9, and I've watched that time go very slowly, but also very fast.
Yes.
And I love to capture and document those moments. So I'm starting some courses on helping parents, and geared towards parents because that's who I see right now. Um, Helping parents just take different pictures of their kids. I had a mom stop me in the parking lot one day at school at drop off and say, the pictures you take of your daughter, she's like, I feel like I'm there, and I feel like I'm so emotionally invested in them. And she's like, she's your daughter. She's like, I never know what to do other than have my kids stand and say cheese, like, look at me, And so it sparked something for me. I do a 365 project, which is a photo a day, and I've been doing it since 2018. So some years are a little smoother than others, but and it's just capturing sort of the mundane every day in a beautiful way.
Yes.
Because we live our life every day, like
Every day.
every day. And a lot of times we only think about documenting the birthdays, the celebrations, those big moments. And I think
Right.
there's such beauty in, the everyday things that happen, the dog with his stuffy in his mouth, my daughter, eating breakfast or painting her fingernails because she figured out how to do that. So I have created a course designed just to teach the everyday folk, right? Anybody, how to see light, how to think about composition just a little bit differently. So that when you pull out your phone camera, yeah, sure, maybe you have the kids turn around and say cheese, but then you also think about it in a different way too. So so that's what's currently in the plate that's spinning. And there's, like I said, teaching is just in my bones, and
Yes.
I love to pass it on. So there'll be some more courses, of course, similar to the one that I learned how to use my camera with. That company
Yes.
is no longer in existence, and it literally changed my life.
Yes.
I wouldn't know you if I
Right.
hadn't tripped into that, which is so
Yes.
wild, right?
Yeah.
So just starting some teaching in the photography realm.
Beautiful. Beautiful.
Yeah.
And then in the dance world, is your daughter, does she have share a love for that as well?
She is a performer for sure. She started some dance classes because, I'm a dancer, and that's the first natural thing you do, right? Is you introduce your kid to the
Yes.
thing. And she one day said to me, Mom, I love being on stage. I don't love going to class. And I'm like, okay, heard, chef. So we found her some musical theater, and she has taken a love to musical theater. So, but she definitely is, she's a performer. She likes to be in the limelight.
I so love that she could differentiate between the part that she absolutely that brought her to life and the part that she found to be okay. And that she was able then to also communicate it, and that
Yeah.
you had open ears to be able to hear that and to know that that stage is still something you two will share the rest of your lives, right? That
Yeah.
space of being able to help other people emote in a different way.
Yeah.
So powerful.
Yeah. So it's fun to watch her up there right now. Who knows? Like I said, she's 9. Who knows what the future holds? But right
Right.
now, it lights her up. So
Yes. Yes. Our daughter was really resistant to me taking pictures of her, which I just finally moved over to a place of saying, look, I'm just doing memory markers, right? I'm just taking pictures of it. So there are literally pictures of our shoes. There are pictures of sidewalks. There's pictures of, because when you use your phone, it will typically, if you allow it, it will tell you in the details where you took that picture. It also has a date with it.
Yes.
And so I just began taking these memory markers at different places. She recently traveled to go visit with a friend of hers, and her friend's high school friend, if you're still following along all the friends
Yes.
who are going here, just had twins. And our daughter chose to buy a beautiful, incredible camera a few months ago. And she took it with her on this trip so that she could go take pictures of the babies. And I just think how incredible that for a while she's like, you know what, I'm not sure I want to be on the front side of the camera, but yet saw how important it was to be taking these pictures, these memory markers for people, whether they ever blow them up or do anything with them. That's not the point. The point is that that moment is captured, just like in your Project 365, how incredible to be capturing the mundane in life, to be capturing how things are. And then I also find, Joelle, that sometimes when I'm looking back at old pictures, I'll go, oh, I totally forgot that aspect of what our kitchen used to look like.
Yeah.
Or that Christmas we had the tree, because that was after the fire. So that's why that we had that particular tree, right? So just different things that the pictures will remind me of. And so in some ways, it almost becomes a life diary. At the end of the year, my goal is to always go back through the year, because I often will take more than one picture of whatever, hoping to get everybody's eyes open or whatever happens to be, right? And so going through and picking out my favorites of the year and putting those into an album so that I can at least have the album of my favorites for the year. And for a while I was like, is it the family album? And I finally came to the place of saying, no, I've done the albums. We have an encyclopedia wall full of albums that I have done. And, did the very painstaking writing in there with all the perfect paper and the perfect type of pens. And so glad that I did that. After she graduated, though, from high school, I did one that had just a couple of different things of college, because she was a student athlete, scholar athlete. But I just so wanted to be able to start taking pictures of things that rather than having to say, oh, I've got to remember to put this into so-and-so's book. So I just think it's such an important thing to be capturing. Photographs. Yes, we have video, but there's something about the photograph that speaks in its own language.
I couldn't agree with you more. I call them little time capsules, right? Because the memories fade. They do. Like I thought I would remember everything from my daughter's first couple years. I'm like, oh, I can't. What time was she born? Right? And so I hate to admit that, but I just did. But I find when you look back at that photo, like you smell the smells, you feel the feeling, and all of that. So I try and remember that too when I'm working with clients, right? Because they're going to remember what happened. Like if the kids are crying and everybody's miserable, they're going to look at those photos and think about that, so it is, it does, they just bring you right viscerally back to that place. So yeah, I love that you do that.
Which is why, because it does bring you so viscerally back. I have another album inside of my phone. I've never talked about this album. So here it is. This is the album of things I thought would never come to pass. Things I had longed for, that I had wanted, that I had dreamt of. My eyes are tearing up. Because when I open up that album, it's exactly that, Joelle. It brings me to those moments. And so if I'm having a place of faltering faith for whatever reason about whatever it happens to be, I can choose to go open up that file and look at those pictures, and just to remember that maybe things didn't happen in my timing. Maybe things didn't happen the way that I had journaled that they should happen, but yet they opened up so beautifully in so many circumstances in ways that I would have never expected, couldn't even begin to imagine. And so for people who do look at pictures and they speak to them, having a photo album that has just those kinds of things in there can be really a powerful reminder.
I love that so much. You made me tear up too. I'm going to wipe over here because I felt you there. Yeah.
Yes. Yes.
You know, those things that we maybe sometimes can't think to think, you know,
Yes.
and yeah, yeah, I think
Yes.
it's beautiful.
And for
Absolutely.
me also, going back to the 60% of people are looking to be validated,
Mhm.
I can go back and look at those pictures also, and some of them are truly validation pictures
Mm,
of somebody saying to me, "You did it," somebody that I didn't think would. And so being able to kind of take a picture around whatever it happens to be, remembering that. And then there are other pictures that come from the other side. I have a picture of somebody that I have such deep respect for, Katie Ingersoll, and I'm hoping that she will someday say yes, that she'll be on the show. But she used
put it
to,
out there.
yes, exactly. She used to come watch when I had all of my 400 students on stage because her grandkids were in my choral program. So, of course, as a doting grandmother, she would come.
Yeah.
But what she did after the concerts is she would always find me. She would always had this sense of where I would be, and she would wait. It didn't matter how late it
Mm,
was, she would wait. And then she would hold my hands and look in my eyes and tell me what I had done. And I have, whenever I see that picture, I have goosebumps now. Whenever I see that picture,
mm,
just that somebody saying, I saw the work that you did, and it was good. So
mm.
still in those spaces, not looking for those, not looking for that kind of,
Mhm.
I was doing it for the kids. And I
Yeah.
wanted the kids to have this fabulous experience of being on stage under the hot, bright lights and have that experience, right? That they had
Yeah.
been in a sold out auditorium. Wanted that
Mm.
so desperately for them to put that in their memory bank. But to have somebody just out of the blue come and find me, and then every single year that I had one of her grandkids, that she would come find me, and always had a unique thing to say. So
Yeah.
for the grandmas out there who are investing in the next generation, thank you. We see
Yeah.
you and we celebrate you.
Yes. And to be seen by, you know, to be able to stand and see yourself through somebody else's eyes too, I
Mm,
think is so beautiful because we often can't see ourselves and, you know, those things get in the way. So to have that
yes.
connection and to have the tangible photograph to take you there. Such a beautiful thing.
So this mom asked you, she said that she was sharing, being able to watch, your daughter and the photographs that you were putting up. So this question then, or this comment became something that really turned for you what your next project was going to become. How did you allow that conversation to touch you? Were you already considering putting a class together? And she was like that, just that final piece of, oh, this is the timing for it? Or were you more, Joelle, in a place of just openness and this came through, and because of how it came through, that you could just begin to see all the different parts that could potentially go together into a phenomenal class?
Well, so I had started during the pandemic because, you know, we all had lots of time. Although I had a 4 and 5 year old at that, like she was 4 and 5 at that point.
Yes.
I don't know that I actually had a lot of time, but you know, we had this time and this energy that wasn't being expended. So I had actually started something like this that I had forgotten about until the mom had said to me the comment. And I was like, oh, wait a second. I started and I forgot. So she was my memory jogger.
Yeah.
So it was literally that day I went back and I was like, okay, let me, you know, what state is this in and how do I do it? And then I think, I mean, the universe is so kind and so listening because it might have been a week later or a couple weeks later within the month that I saw Jasmine's her master classes, that stuff pop up where you and I got connected through that course. And and the course was how to launch because that was the piece that's missing, right? I'll say yes all day long, but like also sometimes you just actually need information, and
Yes.
I, did, I
This is
didn't.
how you do it. Yes.
For sure. And I didn't have that information. I had no idea how this was going to happen, and so the universe said yes, and
Yes.
you know just provided, and so that's sort of how it started.
So
So
good.
Yeah. Yeah. Thank
I
goodness
love
for
that you
memory
had the
jogger.
seed that you had already planted and it was beginning to grow. And then all of a
Thanks.
sudden, everything started back up again. And it just kind of sat there waiting for
Yep.
you to come back and love on it some more.
Yep. It was a
And
gift to my future self, that I didn't know that I was giving.
yes, yes.
Sometimes I have a folder in my on my desktop in my lap,
Uh-huh.
something that I'm
Yes.
going to need to fill out the next year. It's a gift
Right.
to my future self. So
Yes.
I didn't realize
So
I was
good.
gifting.
So good. Oh, wow. And in
Yeah.
that space of
Yeah.
gifting to your future self, I think that's also a key thing for our listeners who are entrepreneurs or leaders or people who are caring for the next generation. What are you looking as your next step? What is the gift that you can be giving to your future self about something? It can be as easy as just organizing something because you know in the future you're going to need it. And just to
Yes.
have that piece taken care of and prepared, that can be such a gift to your future self.
Yes. The paperwork, there's paperwork that I have to fill out yearly that, if I just put it in a folder in my on my desktop, then I
Yes.
know where it is. I'm not searching for it, you
Yes.
know.
It's an easy
So
place to go get it. Oh, that's so good.
yes. Yeah. Um,
You have me thinking about paperwork differently right now. That's me lost in thought. No.
yes.
Yes. Wow, so
Yeah.
good. Wow. Well, as you shared these incredible quotes, I love them. Um, are there people who are alive or not, who danced or not, or photographers or not, that if you could just sit down and have conversation with somebody or a couple somebodies, just to have that time sitting on a front porch someplace in rocking chairs, just heart to heart conversation, who would that person be and why?
Wow, that's a question. There is a man who, in my early Los Angeles days, his name is Wes Felding. He's a dancer. He also very much shaped who I am as an artist, and he pushed me in ways that um, that I didn't think I knew how to handle, but he knew I could. He could see that. And I haven't seen him in quite some time, so I think a phone call is probably in order here. But I would love to just sit with him for a little while and you know, talk about artistry, talk about, you know, oh God, what's that word that I'm looking for? Like support, holding, is the only, is the only way I know how to say it. But just talk to him about that.
Mm,
And, I also just watched this incredible series on, it's from Nat Geo and it's called Photographer. And it was about six different photographers who just, I mean, the breadth of what they do is incredible,
mm,
and sort of following that passion and following that vision. And I
yes.
would love to sit down with any one of those people and talk about change making. And there was a storm chaser. There's a guy who's photographing refugees. There's, I mean, like, it's incredible. Go seek
Yes.
it out.
I will.
It's absolutely stunning and beautiful. And so I don't know, just and I want to just talk to whoever sits down next to me, on a
Yes.
park bench or whatever, and talk to them about their life and their journey. And
Yes.
because there's a reason that person sat down next to me. So, and there's something they
Yes.
can teach me about my life. So
Mhm.
the average bear.
That's so, so good. Are there things that you'd like to reiterate before we tie up our time together, friend?
Well, I am so grateful to you, and I think the work that you're doing is absolutely incredible, and the way you sit for and give space for other people is really, really stunning. So, and I'm grateful to the universe for bringing us together.
Yes.
And you know, i- the universe has been kind to me, whether it was providing opportunity or having me be hit by a car and taking me out of my life enough to discover something new. So I think it's just finding the for, what's for me here. I could have very easily said it's happening to me, but what is for me here?
Mm.
And it doesn't always reveal itself
Mhm.
immediately, but I have enough hindsight in my life to look
Yes.
forward and say, "Oh,
Yes.
wow, that was really for me." So
Yes.
if it's challenging,
Mm.
sitting in that fire to burn the alchemy out, to whatever's left is yours, and
Mm.
really finding the for, I
Yeah.
think.
That is so beautiful. I sat next to somebody yesterday who had a brand new tattoo that said 41. And I said, "Tell me about your tattoo." She says, "Well, it's just about 10 days old." I said, "Okay." And then she proceeded to say, when I think about different pieces, when I think about, people, she comes from a very religious space. And so Jesus out in the desert for 40 days, or Moses, having 40 years and then 40 years and then 40 years. She said,
Mm.
it's for the one after, that they
Mm.
heard all of that for the 41st day. And she has been going through a number of health challenges. And I thought, what an incredible thing to have on your arm to remind you first thing in the morning when the body doesn't necessarily want to work, that what you are choosing today is for the 41st day to be looking forward to what's the after. Because
Chills.
there is that space of the after. And so that was my park bench moment yesterday.
Oh,
I
that's
was
a good park bench moment.
41.
Woo!
Yeah,
Chills.
yeah,
Yes.
so good, so good. Well, to wrap up our time together, I just want to share with you also, Joelle, that as you are building this photography class, I would love so much to be part of it. I just love the time that we have together. I love what I learned from you. I love your way with words, how you were able to take a family vacation and be so present for that, and then also go do other things and come back and be so present that you are choosing that space of being present. And I have so much to learn from you, and I'm just so grateful that you said yes to come on to Simply Sarah and share with our audience the incredible things that you are doing, and that you see life through the eyes of what is this doing for me, and I celebrate that with you.
Thank you. I appreciate you.
Beautiful. Well, to our incredible audience, we just say thank you so much for being here, for listening in, for holding on to these tools that we've shared, these energetic tools. If you find yourself in a place that's difficult, that you can choose how you want to respond to it. It really is the only thing we have complete agency over, is our response to the things that happen around us. And I love what Joelle shared about being able to have it be for us. And I will share just a quick story of when we were looking to relocate. The timing didn't feel right to me. I really felt like I had more to do where I was. I didn't want to leave yet. I knew that it was in the future. And then this show came along, and it was like just these pieces saying, "Here, I have these things that are for you." And then to have the mural artist come along and say, "Hey, can I paint a backdrop for you?" And then to have a musician come along and say, "Hey, I have music that I have written and that I have taken recorded with a live orchestra that I would love for you to be able to use." All of these things that are happening for. And so with Joelle, I say, yes, let's look at what's happening for our benefit, because so much is in that space. Do you like and admire the version of you that shows up under stress? From the point that we feel stressful circumstances show up in our life, there is about a 10-second window that we have to be able to not just manage, but prevent stress. And it's called the 10-second solution. If you are interested in more information about how you can prevent stress, I invite you to go to my Instagram. The handle is @SarahStockham, and go to the bio and sign up right now. Your future you deserves this information. You can actually have a great relationship with stress. Sign up now @SarahStockham.